Lebanese Foreign Minister Ghebran Bassil. So they will turn again, as they have done so many times before, to the diaspora. Canada is one country with a large population of people claiming Lebanese ancestry, and the government has just committed up to $5 million of aid. I'm joined from Toronto by Professor Lama Mourad, an expert on Lebanon and Middle East politics. Lara, it's good to see you. I mean, the world stands ready to help, but the lenders are on the horns of a familiar dilemma here. How do you help a stricken people without funneling money and influence to corrupt politicians?
Thank you so much. I think there are really two questions here. I think in the immediate term, there are clear partners that international aid can be distributed to, whether it be the Lebanese Red Cross or the Lebanese Food Bank, that are providing immediate relief to Lebanese in the short term. I think the bigger question really comes with medium and long-term funds slated for reconstruction. And as we know, that's really where so much of the corruption is endemic. So I think there have been calls that I think are worthy of real consideration for an international oversight committee that also includes domestic civilian actors that oversee the distribution of these funds. It's important to not hollow out entirely the institutions of the state, but there have to be safeguards to ensure that the money does not line the pockets of politicians and also serve to strengthen their existing clientelist networks and serve to make people more dependent on them as leaders.
Let's pick up on this issue of political reform, because it's a complex political structure in Lebanon. It has to be after the civil war. So the Speaker is a Shiite, the Prime Minister is a Sunni, the President is a Maronite Christian. That is the setup. It is a system of patronage, or it has been over recent years. So politicians have served their own communities. So how do you politically reform but keep a structure in that keeps the peace? I mean, that's the real difficulty, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, that is part of the challenge, but I do think that the focus on the sectarian nature of, the distribution of power in some ways avoids the much bigger question of what holds all of these leaders together, and that is a commitment to a corrupt governance structure that keeps them as leaders in the country. So it's not so much about keeping the peace. This question of sort of sectarian strife or sectarian tensions serves the governing powers to maintain their hold on the country. I think we've seen from the protest movements that have occurred over the last decade in Lebanon, but really the most recent one in late 2019, that an alternative political possibility is there in Lebanon. The reality is that the opportunities are not there for these leaders to really gain traction within the country, and that's because the existing leadership is so committed to maintaining their foothold. And so I think that the other really important role that an oversight committee can play is in providing a space for these alternative leaders to gain traction on the national political scene. The reality is that citizens in Lebanon have not for a long time seen an alternative political reality as a possibility in their country. It's not that, it's not about sectarian hatreds or sectarian inability to move past this structure. It's about providing space for true political alternatives.
Professor Mourad, interesting. Thank you very much for that insight.